What's up humans, today we are back with a Combat Tips Part 6, Sky Edition. Now before I get into this, I do want to clarify that this is a guide for beginners only, so the tips and tricks shouldn't be that complicated for you. And with that being said, let's dive in. Tip number 1, adjust your FOV with jets. When you're flying with jets or any aircraft that's incredibly fast, it can come down to personal preference on how you want your experience to be. Some people like to be in first person when they're attacking other players. However, because this is a guide for beginners, it's best to have your camera angle the furthest away from the aircraft as you can. This gives you more visibility of your surroundings, which equals less likely to crash. Tip number 2, knowing when to drop bombs. Flying a certain aircraft and dropping bombs is definitely satisfying, but sometimes it can be underwhelming when you don't hit the target that you're aiming for. Well, let me help you become a better bomber. Wait, hold up. The timing on this is extremely important, and this really does depend on how high you're flying. When you're very high, you want to drop the bombs pretty early before hovering over the target on the map, because as mentioned in a previous video, the higher you are, the faster you fly. However, if you're lower, you still need to drop it early, but not as early as you would if you're higher up. Number 3, use terrain and debris to block missiles. It doesn't matter whether you're in a jet or an Oppressor Mark II, using objects like buildings to block missiles coming towards you is a good way to save your bacon. And obviously the Heart of Los Santos is the best for this because of the amount of structures it has, so when somebody's locking onto you with missiles, use anything like this to your advantage. Because remember, everything on GTA is for some reason indestructible. Number 4, use free aim to your advantage. I've been over this countless times, but because this is a Sky Edition video, it has to be slotted in. Free aiming in vehicles such as the Oppressor Mark II, the Sparrow or even the jetpack are great ideas for beginners. If you don't know what free aiming is, it's when you're shooting missiles which aren't locking onto the target. So this is best used when the person you're attacking is on foot. You can also do this with cannons too, but we'll get to that later. It's a matter of pressing shoot when the square bracket comes in contact with the player on the ground, or wherever they are. You will need to dip forward and shoot at the right time, like so. Also, if you're using the jetpack in particular, it is recommended to do this in first person, but again, everybody has their own preferences. The Oppressor Mark II and the jetpack are the best to practice this with, as you can wear thermal and see the targets way much easier. Number 5, make the most of the Avenger cannon. If a griefer is being an absolute annoyance on the ground, whether they're in a vehicle or not, then it's time for you to whip it out. The Avenger, I mean. This method is extremely solo friendly, and when you're doing this method in the appropriate way, like using out of sight for example, you can easily locate the target with the Avenger cannons, and the best part is the range on this thing is absolutely diabolical, which means you can definitely cover a lot of flight space before you execute this move. The higher you are, the harder it is for them, but also if you do go too high, then you won't be able to reach them. And even if they do take you out while you're inside the Avenger, they still won't get the kill on you anyway. Number 6, going to the flight school. Simple and right there in your face, but using the flight school can definitely help with your skills. You can learn all sorts of maneuvers and tricks, and even at the end, you'll get rewarded for it. You can access the flight school even from your hangar if you walk up to the poster on the wall right here. It will teleport you across the map in almost an instant. Number 7, put those damn wheels in. Leaving those pesky wheels out is overall not a good idea. It makes your vehicle slightly slower, which isn't ideal when you're battling another aircraft. You can also not maneuver lock-on missiles more effectively, which gives you more of a chance to be boom boom bye bye. And it also technically makes you a bigger target to cannons and ground weapons like the explosive sniper or the railgun. So if you really don't know how to actually do it, just click the L3 button, aka the horn button. Number 8, knowing when to use the homing missiles over the cannon. When you're lucky enough to be in an aircraft with two amazing weapons, such as the cannon or the missiles, then you need to know when to use them in certain situations. The cannon, especially on the Savage helicopter, is recommended to take out targets that are on foot, or any ground vehicle. Because the method is way more effective than missiles, you have more of a chance to hit them and it's quicker. For example, the cannon has been nerfed for ages on the laser and the Hydra, so the Savage is definitely the best choice for this. The cannon is also good for taking out large vehicles pretty quickly. If you're somebody who's struggling to aim, then big vehicles such as the Avenger or the Kasatka should be your first targets to practice on. Missile lock-on should only be for vehicles that you're probably struggling to keep up with. or something that's so incredibly slow and exposed that you know that a homing missile would definitely get it. And if homing missiles is all you have on your vehicle, then go ham. Otherwise, try and use the cannon or the explosive MGs when necessary. Number 9. Flying high gives you more visibility and more time to decide. Mentioned previously, flying high in the air actually makes a difference when you're travelling. But what does this have to do with combat? Well, it gives you enough time to plan and execute your attack. Also, flying higher gives you a massive advantage to avoid slow flying vehicles such as the Oppressor Mark II or the Deluxo. If you do suspect an Oppressor Mark II is flying towards you and you don't know how to execute it, then just fly up. And it's as simple as that. And finally, tip number 10, practice with helicopters if you're struggling. Fast moving aircrafts can be very overwhelming when you're learning to fly. If that's the case, start with something more slow and controlling, like a helicopter. The Savage may be weak with its armor, but practicing how the cannon works and finding targets to destroy is a great way to practice. And also don't forget about free aiming. Free aiming isn't really recommended on fast moving aircrafts anyway. So use the Sparrow or the jetpack if you really want to get to work. Each vehicle has a different feel to it. The Oppressor Mark II is really good for beginners, and then once you get comfortable in that, try the Sparrow, and then once you get comfortable in the Sparrow, try the jetpack, and so on. Well beginners, I hope you found this informative, and if you did, hit that like button, and if we get 150 likes I'll do a part 2 of Sky Edition. I do have way more tips written down, but I wanted to start off quite smooth. And if you don't want to miss that video, then you should definitely subscribe, because it's free. Yeah. And with that being said, I'll see you in the next one.